Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is CJ, the Populist New Yorker, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 2022 midterm elections. Specifically, we're going to be looking at how gerrymandering is going to factor in to which party ends up taking control. I really do think that the 2022 election is really going to come down to which party is able to effectively gerrymander the other party out of as many seats as possible. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't like gerrymandering. It's not a popular thing, but both parties do it, and both parties do it effectively because they feel that they have to politically. Democrats feel they have to do it because Republicans do it and vice versa. So I don't think gerrymandering is going away anytime soon. It's unfortunately a political reality. So we're going to take a look and dive into which party is ultimately going to have an advantage in this case, and how some of the House maps are shaping up right now, because we already have two finalized House maps that aren't at-large districts, and we're going to take a look at those now. We're going to skim over some of the other states. Some states have a lot of proposals. We can't really go through all of them because there's a lot, but we're going to look at some of the bigger states, like Texas, like New York, like Ohio, Colorado, Michigan. We're going to look at bigger states and really analyze. We're not really going to look at places like Arkansas or Idaho, because those states are going to be red no matter what. There's no point in looking at what their new maps are. I want to look at maps that, states that are somewhat more competitive than that and are larger population. So first we're going to look at the state of Maine. I believe the redistricting process in Maine, I guess it is the legislature and the governor, but in Maine, they've kept their second district, so we have basically the exact same map. The partisan lean changes barely. The first district gets 2 points more red, and the second district gets a point bluer. Not a real big difference. Maine, there's almost no difference to the new map. Just a couple of towns are moved into the district effectively. If we take a look at Oregon, this is where we have a more significant change, because Oregon has added a House seat. So they originally had 5 districts. Now they have 6 because of the 2020 census. So this only adds 1 guaranteed Republican seat, which is Oregon's second. It leaves out, I believe Oregon already only had 1 Republican representative. So the only pickup Republicans can really have is Oregon's 5th. And obviously Democrats do have the advantage here. So in this case, Democrats probably gave themselves, an extra seat or 2. So this is an example of a Democratic gerrymander, because, Oregon's second basically takes all of this rural red area and merges it into one big district. If we take a look at the old district, Oregon's second is only R plus 19. Now it's R plus 28, so that really changes a lot of things. A lot of these districts, District 4 was R plus 1, and District 5 was D plus 4. Now District 5 is a D plus 3. It's an open one, I guess. Kurt Schrader is now in a D plus 7, so he's in a better position. And Oregon's 4th is now D plus 9. So that's certainly an example of a Democratic gerrymander, and this is a finalized map. So this map isn't going to change unless somehow it's struck down by the courts or something. We're going to take a look at Colorado next. Colorado has 5 plans. We're not really going to dig into all of these 5 plans. We're just going to look at the one that most benefits Democrats and the one that most benefits Republicans. And then we'll take a look at maybe this middle ground one as well. So first we're going to take a look at the commission-approved plan, which does benefit Democrats. Colorado gets an extra district. That district is an R plus 3 district. That could go to Republicans. It probably will if they run a decent candidate. So this gives Republicans 3 districts in the state of Colorado. The old map obviously looks very different because Colorado added a district since 2020. So, of course, we have Lauren Boebert's district, which is the 3rd district. We have Colorado Springs, and we have Eastern Colorado. We also have 4 safe Democratic districts. So we have 3 safe Republican and 4 safe Democrat in the old map. In the new map now, we effectively have 3 safe Democratic districts, 3 safe Republican, 3 safe Democrat, 1, likely Democrat, and of course we have an R plus 3 district. So this is the most Democratic map, the commission-approved one. This gives Democrats the biggest advantage. This map here probably gives Republicans the biggest advantage. Or this might be the middle one. This is the middle one. We'll take a look at this one. This gives Republicans 3 districts, 3 solid districts. It gives Democrats a +4 district, and it has an even district as well. So this is the new district, Colorado's 8th. These districts here, 1, 2, and Colorado's 2nd, are all safe Democratic districts as well. And of course, we could take a look now at the... Well, we looked at the most Democratic one. I guess these ones are kind of all over the place. But this is an independent commission, so the maps will be roughly fair, whichever way they're drawn, just because of that. This one's a very interesting one. It puts Jason Crow in a totally different area. But no, this one only has 3 safe Democratic, and we have D+4 and the R+3 again. Lauren Boebert's district gets a little bit bluer at R+11. And of course, Colorado Springs basically gets kind of its own district in this map. So that's Colorado. Obviously, one of these is going to be approved. Sure, it's going to be deliberated and whatnot. We'll take a look at Michigan's now. And again, like I said before, if we look at, a map of all the countries, all the states, most states have Republican legislatures or Republican trifectas numerically. Even states that went to Joe Biden, like Georgia, like Arizona, these states have Republican trifectas. Now, Arizona is an example of where an independent commission is drawing the districts, but Georgia's not. And I believe Georgia has a planned map out now that we're going to take a look at. Texas is not. Florida is not. These are states where Democrats have no power in the legislative process, and as a result, Republicans... and politically wise, I say, are going to gerrymander these states, as are Democrats going to do in Maryland, my home state of New York, Massachusetts, places like that. It's the name of the game, unfortunately. We take a look. Oh, we can even see it here. These are all the states that have completely Republican control. Some states with split control, that's yellow. Of course, these are states usually with Democratic governors. And Republican legislatures. I think in Minnesota, the state Senate is Republican. So ultimately, a mixed bag there. But Republicans numerically have the advantage. And a lot of these states, you have Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. These are heavily populated states. Michigan's proposal here, once again, we'll look at it based on, which party is going to have the advantage the most. So this is the most... Republican bias map, I guess, and this gives Democrats 4 safe seats all around the Detroit area, and the rest of the state is effectively under Republican control. Michigan is losing a district, so I'm guessing that makes a lot of these rural districts, like Michigan's 12th, for instance, a lot bigger. We take a look at the most Democratic district. There really isn't one. I guess it would be this one, since this gives Republicans the least guaranteed amount of seats. They still have just 4 safe districts. You've got 2 districts with Democratic incumbents. These Democrats could easily win again, but if 2022 is really going to be any sort of red year, they probably will get knocked off. This state too, this seat rather, actually pits 2 incumbents against each other. That's interesting. Peter Meyer and another Republican there, both are incumbents. Interestingly enough, this puts also a Democrat in an R+8 district, so he'd probably lose there as well. So any way you look at it in Michigan, does not look good for the Democrats, and that's because their voter base is concentrated around the Detroit area. These are areas that are much more dense and have a much higher percentage of voting for Democrats. These areas in particular. A lot of these other counties are not really as blue at all, actually. So because the vote is so concentrated, there's not really a whole lot of districts that you could put here, because, again, it's allocated by population, but it's not like the Democratic vote is as spread out as the Republican vote. And that's another reason why Republicans have an inherent advantage when it comes to redistricting and House districts in general, is that they are a more spread out party than Democrats. Democrats are concentrated in small areas, where their base is voting, 80, 90% for Democrats in the cities, and that carves out one district. The way Democrats obviously gerrymander that is they just, split up the city and spread it out in the rural areas. But that's one of the reasons why in Michigan, even though Michigan is a blue state, a lean blue state, you're not having Republicans really in any disadvantage. They always have more seats than the Democrats in all of these non-biased maps. We'll take a look at my home state of New York next. There's two main plans. The letters plan, as it's called, is the Democrat gerrymander, or the Democrat benefited plan. New York actually has a commission, a redistricting commission that's independent. However, the Democrats can just override it whenever they're not satisfied with the map. So it's really not independent. It's partisan because the Democratic legislature and the Governor Hochul has already stated that she's going to do whatever is in her power to make sure Democrats get the max amount of seats. So it looks like this letters plan is probably going to be the new New York map. For comparison, this is the old New York map. This is the new one. The new one is definitely a lot more gerrymandered than the old one. You have District 22 just wrapping all over the place. Puts John Katko, who's actually a never Trump Republican, or should I say he was a Republican who voted for impeachment, puts him in a D+12 district. His district is only a D+4, so he would definitely lose his re-election if this map were to go through. It splits up a lot of things. Lee Zeldin, candidate for governor, his district is put into an R+3 district, whereas it's an R+10. That's because I believe Smithtown is here. Smithtown, New York, which is a town on Long Island, is a pretty red town, electorally speaking. And this map splits up that town. Instead of putting it in the first district, it puts it in the fourth. So it makes Tom Suozzi's district, which is a D+6, it makes it an R+4 district. So that actually hurts him. It makes his district redder than Zeldin's. Of course, it keeps Garbarino's district in the 6. These upstate districts overall don't really change a whole lot. Mondaire Jones's district is a +8. I think the old map, he was +17, so that makes him a bit more vulnerable up in Westchester County. Sean Patrick Maloney is put in a D+1. So this is a very mixed bag because Republicans, it gets rid of a Republican seat, but it puts some Democratic incumbents in more toss-up seats in a way. If we take a look at the names plan, which is the more Republican-favored map, as you can see here, it puts Mondaire Jones in an R+5 district, a district he'd probably lose, considering he's a very left-wing Democrat in a red district. It puts Lee Zeldin in R+9, so his district gets 1 point bluer. It keeps Tom Suozzi's district effectively the way it was. It actually adds a new district, District 10, which encompasses southern Nassau County and southern Brooklyn, and I think part of Queens as well. That district does not exist currently, so that's really interesting. It adds a red district on Long Island. Obviously, the Staten Island district doesn't change, and Sean Patrick is put in a safe district, Albany safe, and John Katko's district is D+2, so that's even redder than his district currently. So obviously, Republicans are going to be vying for this district. That's why this district map. That's why I don't think this district map is going to happen in New York. So Democrats are going to be able to gerrymander a few seats out of New York, but in Ohio, again, I think this is the Democratic proposal. The Democrats want to make it so that there are more toss-up seats. Obviously, you have Ohio's 7th, which is R+1, Ohio's 4th, which is R+3, and Ohio's 10th, which is D+1. It also adds a district for suburban Columbus and part of Columbus. It makes it a D+10. This map is not going to pass, though, because the Republicans control the redistricting process in Ohio, Republican governor, and state legislature, so this map isn't really going to be affected. Texas Republicans proposed this map. This adds 2 new red districts, so the old map had a decent amount of toss-up districts and lean districts. If we look at the old map, all of these districts in southern Texas, because of the 2020 election, because of the massive trends in favor of Trump in 2020, the PVI, the partisan voting index of these southern districts, has dramatically moved to the right to where they're only voting just slightly more Democratic than the national environment. Of course, this makes districts like, where is it? Colin Alreed, his district up here is D+2. I think now his district is D+25, so it puts him in a safe district. I wish I could zoom in on this map, but I don't think I can. Because there's a lot of stuff going on here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, consolidating some of these more blue suburbs into very blue districts. The same goes down in Houston as well. And unfortunately, I don't think I could zoom in, so it's kind of hard to see these maps here. You know, obviously, some of these districts, District 34 gets bluer, but, you know, again, very gerrymandered, but this is basically the Republicans' answer to counteracting the New York gerrymandering, and Oregon as well. I think we'll take a look at Georgia and then maybe not Massachusetts. We'll look at Maryland after that. But Georgia's district, I think this map was proposed by the Republicans, their lieutenant governor, and the Republicans in the state legislature. This map very likely could be the new Georgia map. It keeps Carolyn Bordeaux. It puts her in a much bluer district, actually. Her district now is an R+4. Now she's put in a D+14. Lucy McBath is put into a safe red district, which would basically guarantee she fails to win re-election. She might do slightly better because she's an incumbent, but ultimately this map and Georgia's second becomes a D+1 instead of a D+6. So this certainly is good news for Republicans in Georgia. This is an example of a red gerrymander. Although Sanford Bishop won very comfortably in his last election in a D+6, putting him in a D+1, he's probably still likely to win. So this would probably make 5 blue seats in Georgia to the 9 red seats. We'll take a look at Maryland next, and then we'll probably... we already looked at Michigan, New York, and we'll look at Washington State, and I think those are really the most significant states. I don't want to go through all of these maps, but what I'm trying to show you in these examples is that Republicans numerically certainly have the numbers right now. They have the energy. They're very likely to win this gerrymandering war. Now, this map looks very ungerrymandered, so I doubt it will be the Maryland map. I don't believe Maryland has a commission, Maryland Citizens Redistrict Commission. I don't believe Maryland has a bipartisan commission. They don't. So I think this is more of an advisory map, but this gives Republicans 2 districts as opposed to 1. This is the old map. Maryland is, I think, the most gerrymandered state in the entire country. I mean, these maps are insane. This is an extreme example of gerrymandering in favor of the Democrats. This map is a lot more fair. This gives Republicans 2 seats as opposed to just 1, and the maps look a lot more natural. This obviously isn't going to pass, so Maryland Democrats would not let Republicans gain a seat, nor would Republicans let Democrats gain a seat in a lot of states, again, like Texas and Florida and etc. We don't have any maps out of Florida yet. I think the last state, like I said, we'll look at is Washington State. I am interested to see, though. I know West Virginia, yeah, they're only going to have 2 districts now. This one's a really odd district, an odd map, rather. But we're not really going to focus on West Virginia. We'll take a look at Washington State, since its population is pretty significant. And then we'll come back to this this site probably in a few months when we have more finalizations of these plans. So first we'll look at the most Democratic of these proposals, which will probably be the State Senate Democratic Caucus. Washington State, however, does have a nonpartisan redistricting commission, so this is probably unlikely to pass, but this gives Republicans just 3 districts and gives the Democrats the remaining 7 safe. So there are no competitive districts in this map, whereas the old map, you had District 8, which was actually competitive. That's completely gone in these new maps, this Democratic map. And we could look at the Republican-favored map, which is the Republican Caucus Committee. This gives Republicans 4 districts and makes Washington's first R+1, although I don't really think that's dramatic enough for the Democratic incumbent to lose. Also doubt this is going to pass. I think you're probably going to see maybe something in the middle. These are all partisan maps right now, so I don't think any of these maps are actually going to be approved by the nonpartisan commission. But again, there are more Republican opportunities for gerrymandering than Democrats, especially states like Texas and Georgia. Any population gains, all those new districts are going to Republicans. So I think as of right now, Republicans have the upper hand. Democrats are trying to fight fire with fire, but they just don't have the numbers. Their base is too consolidated in cities and suburbs to really draw out into more regional areas. And they don't have control of many legislatures. That's the unfortunate reality for Democrats. Most of the country is red, has Republican trifectas, even in places like Georgia, Arizona. Arizona's independent, so I don't know why I keep bringing it up. And Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan all have Republican-controlled legislatures. So it really is 50-50. Of course, Michigan also has a bipartisan commission. But ultimately, it really does seem like the Republicans will have the advantage going into 2020, not just because of enthusiasm, but because of gerrymandering. An extreme example of that is, back in 2014, we could look at some extreme examples of Republican gerrymandering. Just take a look at the state of North Carolina. Just 3 Democratic districts in a roughly 50-50 state. There's something similar in PA as well. I believe this is just 5 Democratic districts in a roughly even state. So 2020 is really just going to come down who can gerrymander their state the most. And it is a sad reality because gerrymandering is a very dirty, sneaky way of getting your party into power. But unfortunately, it's just how politics in the United States works. It's not going away anytime soon. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video. Please leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss any new videos I put out. As always, again, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.